Welcome to the podcast, everyone. BLN 437. With me is NKGaming 22.
What's going on, everybody?
Alright, so today, guys, we are going to go over the latest on the Giancarlo Stanton rumors. We're going to talk a little bit about the baseball awards. We just had Corey Kluber announced as the AL Cy Young winner, so we're just waiting on the National League side of things. The Cavs' big comeback win, the UCLA fiasco, and then our NBA picks for tonight. But before we get into the podcast, I just want to talk 1 second here, Nick, about Bobby Doerr. He was a Hall of Fame player for the Boston Red Sox, passed away, I believe, on Tuesday. He played 14 seasons in the big leagues. He also served in World War II. Great hitter. He hit over 309 times in his career. But one of the famous moments of his career was actually taking a picture with Ted Williams, Johnny Pesky, and Joe DiMaggio's brother. And, I mean, that's an iconic picture. It's a statue out in Fenway Park. So Bobby Doerr was also the oldest living baseball player before his death. And that's just a really sad day for baseball on that passing as well. He did make it to the Hall of Fame, I think, via the Veterans Committee in 1985. And that's pretty much it. As for the Giancarlo Stanton rumors, Nick, you have reports saying that the Cardinals were out of it. Now the Cardinals are apparently back in the race for Giancarlo Stanton as of this morning. Now, what makes this so much more complicated to me is that Derek Jeter has come out and stated that he has not spoken to Giancarlo Stanton about the trade rumors. He says that he hasn't actually contacted him at all. He says that he doesn't feel the need to call Giancarlo Stanton about these trade rumors, and until there is something, that's when he will call Giancarlo. So, don't know if there's really any deal out there for him. I don't really think that the Giants or the Cardinals are pursuing him too heavy. If Derek Jeter's going to come out and say stuff like that, I mean, maybe they are pursuing him heavy and they're just trying to keep it a secret for right now, or maybe it's just there is nothing for them, because like you had said to me actually in a DM on Twitter, it's just going to be so hard with how to just to be able to move that contract in general. It's going to be so hard. I mean, both teams, like either the Cardinals or the Giants, whoever gets him, are going to have a huge issue when it comes to tax, which is the luxury tax for people that don't know, on that contract. I mean, that contract is just way too big, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely hard. Like I said, it was even the Red Sox, I think they said before that he was not willing to go there either, but knowing that Jeter came out and said that neither team is out of it yet, I think they're, like I said, it's kind of a situation that Miami put themselves in, is the fact that at some point, if they don't want to continue with this contract, they're going to have to move him sooner or later. You would think they'd like to move him sooner, just because of the fact that he's coming off his potential MVP season. But it's a lot to ask for, man, because, you know, not only do they have to take up their contract, but they got to get quite a bit of prospects up to get him as well. You're starting to hear rumors about the Dodgers, you know, coming in and having a discussion with Miami about maybe picking him up and trading some pieces away. But even LA, you know, they don't want to give their whole farm system away to pick him up either. So, like I said, I think it's going to be a little bit later if anything actually does happen, but we're going to have to wait and see, though, because, like I said, a contract like that is going to be tough to move by itself. For the long that, you have to give quite a bit up just to get him. That's why I think if teams are looking for an outfielder like the Cardinals and the Giants are, I think they're going to look towards JD Martinez first before they look towards Stanton. But it's something we're going to have to wait and see what happens.
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with you completely on that. I mean, some people believe that Giancarlo Stanton is the better player. Obviously, one, because he's younger, and two, because he can add value into that ballpark. He is a power hitter. He can he can easily hit 30 home runs, maybe even 40 in that ballpark. The only thing that I worry about when it comes to Stanton is health, obviously. And the other thing that I worry about if I'm the Miami Marlins here is that if you do give him up, you're going to have to be willing to eat whatever it is that you did not want to eat. Now, I know Derek Jeter and this new administration did not give him this contract, so they really didn't want this type of contract. They didn't really want this burden, but this is the burden that they were dealt with, and they knew that we're going to have to deal with when buying this team. And I mean, Derek Jeter did come out and say he wanted to rebuild. You have to rebuild with Giancarlo, but I don't think that anybody, including the Giants or the Cardinals, are going to be willing to dump their whole entire farm system, which is what Miami apparently wants. They want a haul of prospects, and Miami wants whatever team to take him to eat up 55% of the contract. So that means that you're not eating up most of the contract. The other team is going to eat up most of the contract, which is not going to happen. No team is going to eat up 55% of that contract. You're going to have to eat up 55 to 60% of that contract, and whoever you trade him to will probably eat up 40% of that contract. But even then, 40% of a $300 million deal is a lot of money to give up just for one player. That's pretty much your free agent signing right there. I think that the Giants are better off with J.D. Martinez in the short term, but I think that they would be better off with Stanton in the long term. Same with the Cardinals. The Cardinals would be better with J.D. in the short term, but I'm in the short term, and then Giancarlo in the long term. It's just with the Giants, you have. I mean, I looked at the contracts that the Giants have. You have Posey's contract. You have Pence's contract, which, I mean, he's starting to get to the end of his contract, but you still have that contract. Then you have Cueto, you have Samardzija, and you're going to have to eventually pay Madison Bumgarner, and you just paid Melanson last offseason as well. So there's really no room for you unless you're going to dump a bad contract that you thought you got during one of those off seasons to Miami in order for you to facilitate that Giancarlo Stanton deal, one. And two, I mean, even then, you still have to pay Madison Bumgarner, and Madison Bumgarner, to me, is going to want to get paid more than what Clayton Kershaw's getting paid in LA. Unless Madison Bumgarner is going to take a hometown discount, I don't know if he will or not. That will remain to be seen. And I mean, for Jeter not to say that he doesn't communicate with Giancarlo Stanton on any of this stuff, I think is. I just think that's bad. I really think that that's the start of. This is going to be the start of a dysfunctional franchise. I mean, you had this comment war start when Giancarlo Stanton told the Miami press that he did not want to rebuild. He did not want to be a part of a rebuilding team. He wanted to win, which is what Jeter had said, obviously, earlier on towards the end of the season. And Giancarlo didn't like that. He said he didn't want to rebuild. Said he wanted to win with the team that he has now. And Jeter and the rest of that ownership just doesn't see it that way. So I mean, Giancarlo has nobody to blame but himself for this contract. He signed this contract. He was promised that he was going to win under Jeffrey Loria. He was not promised to win under this new ownership. So he has to understand that as well if he wants to get somewhere here. And he's gonna have to be willing to eat. To be honest with you, he's gonna have to be willing to not only just eat what he freaking put on his plate, in the sense of just wherever they need to send him. That's probably where he's gonna have to go in order to be happy, in my opinion. I don't know what that would be, but they're gonna have to find a way. So I don't know. He's most likely gonna win the NL MVP, so that's definitely gonna up his value. But man, this is just gonna get ugly from here, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I think at some point in time, Miami's gonna realize that they don't have the advantage with other teams, because the other teams understand that, that they're the ones trying to get rid of Stanton. It's more of the fact that they need to get rid of Stanton more than teams need Stanton. I know that, teams will obviously would feel to have somebody like Stanton on the team, but it makes sense to the fact that, Miami needs to get rid of him more than they need him. So I think at some point, Miami's going to have to settle instead of, to have all these demands and try to get all these players back. Instead, they're going to have to at some point keep the contract, or they're going to have to take not as many prospects as they expected. So I think in the end, they're going to end up shooting themselves in the foot. But like I said, it's a lot of things that are going to. It's going to be a long process, I think, because there's so many things that have to settle before they come to an agreement. But I agree with you though about the whole Stanton situation, because of the fact that he's got to sleep in the bed that he made, because when you sign a big deal like that, if things don't go right, you're going to have situations like this come up. So I don't know what Stanton wants, because like I said, Jeter not talking to him about it is, it may not be the best thing in the world, because, what happens if, Boston, they work out a deal with Boston or St. Louis, and, you call Stanton up and say, hey, we got a trade for you, and then he says, oh, I don't want to go there. Then all that work and effort is put in to work out a trade, it doesn't work because he doesn't even want to go there. So, I think at some point, Jeter's going to have to talk to him about it and discuss the situation on, what he thinks is best for the team, what's best for Stanton. like there's just gonna be a long process before they finally get it all situated out.
Oh no, I completely agree with you on that. I think honestly, what happened here with between him and Jeter is Jeter does have a tendency and a history to not talk to people who kind of insult him and kind of get on his nerves. He did it with A-Rod for a while, where they did not talk, and I think he's just doing the same thing that he did to A-Rod here to Giancarlo. He's just looking at this and he says, "You want to undermine me? You just want to kind of run the show and talk? Then I'm just not gonna give you the same respect that you haven't given me yet." And that's just setting up for a bad just all season for the Marlins if they can remove that contract. I don't think that they are going to be able to remove this contract, honestly. I think they're going to be stuck with Stanton until he opts out in 2020, which I think is crazy, but that just sucks. It just really, really sucks. It really does.
I don't think you can do that. I don't think, like I said, at some point in time, they're going to have to eventually give in and trade him for something.
But I mean, even if you...
It's not going to go on.
No, but even if you gave in, the thing is that what team? If I mean, the only way that I can see somebody giving in is a team maybe like, to be honest with you, the only team that I think really needs a power bat this offseason other than the Giants is the Boston Red Sox. And the Boston Red Sox are the only team that can pay Miami that money. And if I'm Miami, I know it sucks that Boston doesn't want to eat up 55% of that contract. And I know it sucks that Boston doesn't want to doesn't want to give you some of the main prospects that they have. But that's mainly because Boston already did that when they acquired Chris Sale last offseason. They gave up Yohan Moncada. They gave up a couple of big-time prospects. So to give up more for Stanton, it's just Boston can't do that. But if I'm Miami, listen, I take a Jackie Bradley Jr. because I know that he's going to be in that deal. I take Jackie Bradley Jr. I take my chances with whoever else that Boston has on that team. I take a Rick Porcello. I take somebody else that maybe Boston doesn't want that might be able to kind of just give you some type of production now, even though it won't be there for the long term. And if you can get maybe a good prospect or two from that deal, you won that deal in a sense, because Jackie Bradley Jr. won't be a bad player. Then on top of that, you have Christian Yelich and you still have Marcell Ozuna, who apparently Oakland now has interest in those two guys. Oakland is willing to give up prospects to get a Christian Yelich and a Marcell Ozuna. So you're going to be able to get your prospects through Oakland if you trade those two guys. So don't worry about trading Stanton for prospects. Worry about getting that contract out of the way, so that way you can sign a marquee free agent at some point, whether that potentially is a Bryce Harper, because I'm assuming that's who they're going to want to go after, or Manny Machado, and just start off that way, rather than force something that's not there with the Giants or the Cardinals. You need to go to Boston. That's just my opinion.
But me personally, if I'm Boston, I don't want him. Because think about it, they need a first baseman more than they need an outfielder. And if they're going to sign Hosmer this year, that's right. That's the route I would Boston. That's the route I would take, because you're probably position is first base, and you're adding a power back to Hosmer in 35 home runs to take that as a park anyway. And I just don't think Boston. If I'm Boston, I don't think it's a fit this game, just because of the fact that you've got to give up so many people just to obtain somebody like Stanton. And like I said, if they sign Hosmer's going to solve a lot of things in Boston. They'll be a better defensive team. They'll be a better offensive team even without Stanton. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I'm Miami, I think it's going to be really, really tough to make something like this happen, unless they're going to have to eventually settle for something. Whether it's eating a lot of the contract or taking less prospects or whatever it is, I just think they're going to have to deal with something. And then, like I said, and the fact that they're putting up other options too. I mean, they're going to have people who are going to want Yelich. They're going to have people who are going to want Ozuna, Igor, and all these other guys that can do it as well. So that's why. I think Stan, at some point, like I said, you're going to eventually have to trade him. You can't wait till 2020 to let him opt out. If it's too long, and you're going to be paying way too much money for something that's not, in the long run, it's not going to benefit them. So, it's really a tough situation, which I really don't know what they're going to do. And I have no clue what team to go to at this point, because from what it sounds like, it doesn't sound like any team is really interested or really eager to just hand over their farms and then their money for a guy like Stanton.
No, I agree, and this is why Jose Fernandez, tragic death really set them back. I mean, they were on pace to be a good team because they had the number one starter. They obviously had Stanton, you had Marcel, and then you had Yelich, but they've had no pitching since that incident, unfortunately, and it just hurts. It just really, really hurts.
Yeah.
All right, now for the baseball awards. So we have Rookie of the Year that's been announced for both the AL and the NL. It was Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger. I'm a little bit surprised that Bellinger won by unanimous decision. I figured Judge would win by unanimous decision. The only reason why is that, you know what, when I was looking at Josh Bell's season, he played 159 games. Now, I know for some people, the numbers for 159 games might not seem big, but for a switch hitting rookie, to me it is. I mean, he hit 25 to 28 home runs, and he drove in about 90 runs. So that's a solid rookie campaign. And on top of that, he did hit 8 of his 25 to 28 home runs right-handed. So the right-handed power is a little weak on that side. He needs to work on that right-handed swing. But man, and once he gets that right-handed swing down, this guy's going to be a freaking 35 to 40 home run threat and with power from either side of the plate. And he played some solid first base. He wasn't great at first base like Bellinger was, but he was solid. And as for the manager of the year, I mean, I expected Paul Molitor to win. I mean, he took a team that lost 102 games and got them to the wild card. And Torey Lovullo deserved it because he's another one that turned a team in Arizona that was expected to win last year. They didn't do anything last year, and they were able to do it this year. So I think they got it right for both Rookie of the Year and Manager of the Year last night and on Monday. So there's no complaints on that point.
No, I'm not surprised at all, though, because of the fact that his year was just by far better than everyone else's. I mean, he was basically the top of the entire season as it came to rookies. So I'm not surprised when won by unanimous decision. I agree with you on Molitor that you look at the Minnesota's roster. It's not as great as everybody thinks it is.
No, it's not.
You got guys like Eddie Rosario, some lower level guys that had some great years. And if you think about it, if they had a number one starter, I think first and kind of a great pitcher, but him starting their do or die wild card game. If they had some starting pitching, who knows if they would have won that.
I mean, to me, forget starting pitching. You know what really hurt them in that game, and I know that starting pitching is definitely part of it, and the bullpen is. But imagine if Miguel Sano, because after Rosario hit that home run, because Rosario was batting third in that game, Miguel Sano was their fourth hitter. Imagine Miguel Sano up to the plate with runners on base like with Rosario, with Severino struggling like the way he did. I mean, that game could have been out of reach right there with the way that Miguel Sano was swinging the bat throughout the season.
Yeah, I see that too. Yeah, just Mullins, the way he handled things, took the roster he had to be in the playoff team. To me, he was support on the American League.
Oh no, definitely, I agree.
Actually, I thought Bud Black was the fact that I think on paper, Arizona has a better team. Just because I think their pitching is a little bit better than Colorado. So I thought Bud Black might have won it, but Lovullo did a great job as well.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely not. I mean, Bud Black has won a couple, I believe. Bud Black has won, Bud Black has won, I think, a couple in San Diego. I think he's won 2 from San Diego, where he had them playing a little bit over expectations. And
that was when they had Adrian Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's when they had Adrian Gonzalez, and I believe I don't think he was their manager when they had Jake Peavy and Chris Young at their prime. I don't know if he was their manager at that point.
But he was the manager in the last time the Padres were good.
So it's pretty interesting there. The one thing I will say about the AL Manager of the Year award as well, and just managers in general here, is we're starting to see a trend in baseball, and this trend is really starting to bother me a little bit, is that I really wish that, and the Yankees are doing it, and so are the Nationals, Red Sox are as well, they're getting a lot of guys that the front office want to see, the big time GMs want to see. It's no longer, the managerial job is no longer about pretty much, about managing the club anymore. It's, can you work with the front office, and can you work with the players? And if we look at some of the hires that were done, or the hirings that were done here, Alex Cora, Gabe Kapler, Dave Martinez. 3 guys that have no managerial experience whatsoever. I'm talking about for the big market teams, because Ron Gardenhire got a job with the Detroit Tigers, which somewhat big market, but not really to me. They all got managers with no experience, but are very smart when it comes to advanced analytics, which is what the front office wants to see nowadays. And they work well with the front office. They're willing to do everything that the front office wants. So, we're starting to see that trend. There are 2 names that I think should have been in the Manager of the Year conversation. Joe Girardi should have been in it. I know he obviously does not have a job right now, but he should have been at least one of the finalists. I don't mind the 3 finalists that they had, but I just think he probably should have, had a shot at it. I didn't think that Francona needed to be in it at all. I mean, that team was just great, but I'm not going to complain about that. And as for the National League side of things, I know you don't really care for him, but Dusty Baker should have gotten a little bit of love here. I mean, only reason why is that he made that team seem like it was going to get over the hump, and even though they did not, he gave you that feeling that this was finally going to be the year that the Nationals showed up. Now that obviously did not happen against the Cubs, but I feel that those 2 guys should have got some love. I think that those two guys are in the Esurance Award ballot, but they're not in the actual ballot, which I thought was pretty funny.
I thought he did a miraculous job with the Yankees this year. How they ended up being game winning the whole series. Yeah, I thought Girardi would have been over Francona. I don't know why that didn't happen, but Francona's a great manager too. I couldn't have done wrong this season. But yeah, I agree. I thought Girardi was between the top 3. But Dusty Baker, I don't know. I think it's kind of misleading just because of the fact that were they better than the Dodgers? No. And were they better than the Cubs? I think it was a toss-up talent-wise of the Nationals. I think, how many games did they win this year? Did they win 100 games this year?
The Nationals?
Yeah.
No, the Nationals, I believe, won 97 games. They were close to 100.
97 games, and it's just like, I don't know. To me, it was like a regular season accomplishment. I just don't think they were, and it clearly showed the postseason that they weren't better than the Cubs. I just think that I don't know. If you look at the 3 managers, did he do a better job than Bud Black, Mello, and Dave Roberts? And that's why I thought all 3 of the managers on the NL deserve to be on the top 3.
I agree with you on that. I'll agree with you on that. That's fair. That is true. Oh, and one mention here for Paul Mahler. Paul Mahler is the 2nd Hall of Fame baseball player to win Manager of the Year. The first one was Frank Robinson in 1986. So he has that under his belt. And Matt Scherzer has just won the NL Cy Young for a 2nd straight year in a row. So he is a 2-time Cy Young Award winner in the National League, and he obviously won 1 in the American League with the Tigers. So he's a 3-time Cy Young Award winner in total, but 2 of them were in the National League.
Yes, he totally deserves it. Scherzer, he's probably one of the best pitchers in the game, man. And if it wasn't for Kershaw getting hurt, I think you would have a better argument that Kershaw might have won, but he had his injury.
Yeah, I mean, both finalists, other than Scherzer, were Kershaw and Strasburg were both hurt during the season. So I figured that was what was going to completely eliminate them from contention in this award completely. Don't know how many votes he got. It just says that he won right now. I'll be able to probably get that up a little bit later on. But he did win the Cy Young for the National League. We all know that Corey Kluber now is the winner of the American League as well. And same here, no complaints about that. I mean, Chris Sale had a tough stretch in the second half after the All-Star break. He just didn't seem the same. Maybe a lot of that is the fact that this was the first time he was playing in meaningful games in both August and September, and it kind of got to him a little bit. I don't know. I can't really say for sure. Only Chris Sale can tell us for sure whether that was the case or not.
Yeah, no, I'm not complaining either. I mean, the Kluber and Scherzer, they both had fantastic years. Yeah, I mean, basically a two-pitcher race. Severino being in there was, I think, his accomplishment of just being in the top 3. It'll be interesting to see how Severino does next year, see if he can put 2 years in a row together. So I think that's going to be interesting to see from that standpoint. But yeah, still obviously struggling for the second half of the season. Believe it or not, Kluber was not doing that great first half. Nobody really talked about it.
No, he wasn't. You're right.
It seems like the second half he just took off. And it's like almost the first time he wanted 20 same thing. He was kind of a average pitcher. He didn't do bad, but he wasn't outstanding either. But the second half, he was just taking it up a notch and going all fours, and he did the same thing this year. So we'll see what happens, because he was dealing with some health issues in the beginning, which probably explains why he wasn't doing as well in the first half. But watching his interview, he's saying once he got healthy, his mechanics got better, his velocity picked up as well. So it made sense as to why he did what he did in the second half.
Oh no, definitely. You could see that. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in the American League. As for Severino, I agree with you. It's an accomplishment of his own to even make it to the top 3. Severino, to me, he's a great pitcher, but until he learns how to throw a curveball, because he has the slider, he has a changeup, and he has a fastball. Now, he doesn't use his changeup as much as he uses his fastball and his slider. He's a 2-pitch pitcher right now. Once he develops that changeup command and throws that changeup for more strikes and to get people to chase it with a curveball, I think Severino's going to be one of the top pitchers in the game. Maybe he's going to work with Pedro Martinez again this offseason to get those 2 pitches in his repertoire. As for Chris Sale, I expect Chris Sale to be better in the second half next year. I don't think Chris Sale will be as bad as he was, and he wasn't bad. I hate that people say that he fell off, and I hate that I'm saying it as well, because he really didn't fall off completely. I mean, he still had decent starts there where he was good in the second half. They just weren't the quality of starts that he was giving them in the first half. And this is the first time we've ever seen Chris Sale pitch a lot of innings won and pitch in meaningful games, and I think he has to learn how to pitch in those meaningful games, and I think he'll get better next year now having that experience under his belt. But as you're right about Kluber. I mean, Kluber once again wasn't healthy in the first half, got healthy in the second half. Don't know what happened towards the playoffs. It seemed like he got hurt again, because that's what Francona was kind of saying in their press conference when they lost Game 5, that he didn't seem to be okay, that something was bothering him. So hopefully he gets that issue fixed in the offseason, and we can see if he can remain the Cy Young Award winner for next year and repeat. So I'm not going to complain about that at all.
No arguments here.
Alright, so the next thing is the Cavs' epic comeback in the Garden. Now, before this game happened in Madison Square Garden, LeBron James had been criticizing the Knicks left and right, saying that they should have drafted Dennis Smith Jr. He's going to be a better player than Frank Nikita. You also have him just kind of making fun of Phil Jackson's choices and just making fun of just the whole organization in general, how dysfunctional they were. And I believe it was the second quarter of the game, right when the Knicks went on that big run, that LeBron actually went up to Frank Nikita and kind of just bumped him, and they were having a little bump, a little back and forth shoving match there, and then Enes Kanter came up to LeBron James' face and kind of just said, "Look, that's my teammate, like, leave him alone," and stuff like that. So my question to you really is that are the Cavaliers, after this big comeback win, after kind of just going through some type of adversity, do you believe that this is the launching point to them catching the Celtics again?
Honestly, I think yes, but at the same time, I just think, honestly, the fact that, LeBron and the Cavs, they just look bored, and it's almost like, because if you watch it, LeBron started the whole thing.
Oh, no, completely.
He bumped into
Nikita.
He bumped into Nikita, and then he didn't move. He didn't show any effort to get out of the way or anything. They just stood there.
Yeah, and then he started complaining to the ref, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, I think he pushed him out of the way, and Kanter got into his face, which I like. It's good to see a team like the Knicks. Like, let's be honest, the Knicks are not a very talented team once you get past one game. But it's nice to see that, they had each other's backs, and they look like an actual team. So it's nice to see the Knicks from that standpoint. But I think LeBron and the Cavs are going to get things going, because once you saw it, once all that happened, the Cavs took off at that point and ended up winning the game, erasing that huge deficit they had. It was like 18 points or something like that.
Yep.
But I think the Cavs are going to get it going, especially when IT comes back. The defense is getting a little bit better. It's still not great, but I think at some point they're going to get on the roll here. And I think, and granted, the Celtics are playing great basketball, but they're not going to keep this one off forever. Everyone has, their streak in the season. I think the Celtics are going to hit theirs sooner or later, and the Cavs are going to get hot and they're going to catch up with Boston.
No, I completely agree with you on that. I mean, the thing here with that Cavs situation to me was it started really with Enes Kanter, other than Nikita, he was actually upset about, even though he wasn't on the Knicks at this point, he was actually upset with LeBron James and the Cavaliers for doing the bottle flip challenge last year at the Garden.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Enes Kanter was waiting for this matchup, and in the post-game interview, Enes Kanter told LeBron James, or pretty much said to LeBron James, I don't care if you call yourself king, queen, princess, whatever you call yourself, you're not going to be doing no water flip challenge in my arena again, and on top of that, you're not going to just bully my teammates. So it's good to see Enes Kanter kind of giving the Knicks that 90s feel with Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley, and kind of making the Garden whole again. And on top of that, he also, LeBron James was recording a couple of people on the subway during their day in New York, and they were kind of bothering some of the New York fans a little bit while they were on the subway, and Michael Rappaport had this huge rant about LeBron James and just all this other stuff, so it pretty much led to that huge moment there, and Michael Rappaport even told the Knicks that he had pizza on whoever dropped LeBron James on his rear end in that game, and obviously no one did that, but Enes Kanter did step up to the challenge and kind of said, listen, we're not gonna take this bullying from you guys anymore. We feel we can beat any team in the NBA, and Enes Kanter did show up in that game. I'm gonna give him credit for that. He showed up. Porzingis didn't, and that's gonna be the thing that I'm gonna watch out for Porzingis this year. I want to be able to see Porzingis play big. I mean, really big, like almost like what Curry and Durant and all them do in those type of games. He needs to show up, score at least 25 to 30 to really show me that he is that big time player. Now they did double team him, but they've been double teaming him for a good chunk of the season now, so that shouldn't be the excuse. I just think that was one of his off nights, but he's definitely gonna have to show up for those games, in my opinion. He has to make sure that he makes himself a name brand, so that way when people see the Knicks, they're like, you know what, that dude Porzingis, he's played in big games in the regular season at least, and he's shown up. He scored 30. He's done what he has to do, and I want to play with that dude. I want to see what that dude is all about. So that's what I look forward to if I'm the Knicks, and if I'm Porzingis while watching them. And as for the Cavs, I do think that this is kind of their jumpstart completely. I think that this is what they needed. LeBron James kind of had to create the drama for them, and I think he's going to have to continue to do that. I think he's going to have to find new ways to motivate this team, whether that's trash talking a couple of players here and there, or an organization here and there, so that way your team can actually show up, so they don't look like fools when they go into the to the arena playing these teams that are below 500 and haven't made the playoffs last year. I think he's going to have to motivate his teams a little bit more and just do some crazy stuff like this. I know that a lot of people don't like that. They look at that and they're like, oh, that's the villain, and stuff like that. But sometimes you just need a great villain, and that was a perfect example of just LeBron James being aggressive, and he needs to be aggressive.
Oh, absolutely. LeBron James is the leader and the heart and soul of that team. So he definitely needs to take accountability for his team, get things going when it's not going right.
No, I definitely will agree on that. I mean, they're what? They're like 6th in the Eastern Conference now, or 7th, right? Or maybe they're a little higher now.
They're 5 months now. They're like 7 and 7.
All right. So they're in what, the 6th seed?
I think so. Yeah, they're the playoff picture now, but they're not a very high seed. I know that.
Yeah, definitely. That's belonging to the Celtics at 15 in a row. My God. Alright, well, the next thing is the UCLA fiasco, the whole thing going on between LiAngelo Ball and his other two teammates. And now, they had an apology that they issued out today at UCLA. They came back from China, I believe, last night, if I'm correct. And they had a press conference today in the afternoon, or in the morning, at least in the West Coast. It was the afternoon here in the East Coast. And they pretty much admitted to stealing from multiple stores in China. And they admitted that it was stupid, it was wrong, and just everything that, they were pretty much just reading off of his script, but they were pretty much admitting that they did it and that it was wrong, it was stupid, that they're going to be better from this day forward. And they are suspended indefinitely, so we don't know when they'll be able to play on the team. They did not get kicked out of the program, which most people thought might be a punishment for them. For me, what's your whole situation on this?
Just the fact that they didn't serve real jail time in the main dispute, the fact that, Trump bailed them out and all that stuff. The thing to me amazes me is the fact that they didn't get kicked out. I mean, you're on a big scholarship, you go to a foreign country representing the University of California, Los Angeles, and, you get arrested. It's not like they're stealing from some gas station or some 7-Eleven. They're stealing from one of the richest stores in the world, and the fact that they didn't get kicked off the team amazes me. To me, this was UCLA's chance to get away from the ball finger. He just said, you know what, we don't need that. We don't need this. We don't need all this drama, this chaos, situations happening. We're here to play basketball. And to me, this shows a sign of weakness. That the fact that granted, his hands, full ball, all the stuff he can do on the court. But to me, it's embarrassing for the institution of UCLA, and to me, it doesn't make very much sense. I would have picked all three of them off, and I believe in disciplining people, no matter what their name is or who they are. And to me, I just think it's not very smart to keep them on the team.
Oh no, completely agree with you 100% on that. I mean, this situation is just so ridiculous. First of all, like you said, you're representing the college, you're representing UCLA. On top of that, you're representing the United States. You know you don't have the same rights, the same freedom, the same liberty that you have here over in China since it's a communist nation. I mean, everything that's going on. And you opt out there and you decide to go not only rob one store, but to rob 3 stores, get caught on camera robbing 3 stores, and then sit here and talk about how these 3 players aren't going to get any type of severe punishment other than suspension indefinitely. I mean, what? These guys not only embarrassed your program, not only made a whole international incident, but on top of that, pretty much stated and pretty much made it seem like, you know what, you guys are in it just for the money. You guys want whatever it is that LeVar Ball is going to say about the situation to be out in the public so that way you guys can make money off of it, get more publicity about it, and just have that name of LiAngelo Ball and the Ball family on your program. And I just think that that's ridiculous. LiAngelo Ball, I mean, what is this dude thinking? You have a brother in the NBA. You have a Ferrari. You live in a nice, cozy house. You have a family that loves and cares for you. And you decide that you just want to go out there and rob because you think you can get away with it, or because of whatever it is that he believed that he can do while being in China. I mean, that's just completely ridiculous. I mean, if you needed something from, some of those stores that they apparently robbed, which I believe one was, a Louis Vuitton store, and I don't know what the other 2 were. I forgot what the other 2 were, but you could easily call Alonzo if you needed the money. You could have easily done a whole bunch of different things. I mean, the way that they handled this situation was just completely crazy, and I agree with you. I'm surprised Trump got them out of, first of all, any type of jail time. I really thought that they were going to be stuck there in China for a couple of years, and they got bailed from Donald Trump on that. Now, I don't know if Donald Trump watched the press conference, because on his Twitter account, he stated that due to UCLA players owe him an apology. I mean, they apologized to you in their statement. I don't know if you didn't see it or if you didn't like it, but they did apologize to you, Mr. Trump, and I don't know what LeVar Ball is going to say about this. I mean, he spoke it into existence once again because he said that this wasn't a big deal. He believed that this was going to be solved, and lo and behold, it was solved. But you can't tell. You can't have those kids run around and think that they're immortal. I mean, to me, I think the takeaway that they get from this is, you know what, we stole from China. Yeah, we got house arrest or hotel arrest. But not only did the American government save us, our program saved us, and we're possibly going to be on the basketball team at the end of the season, because you know that suspension is not going to be for the whole season. I'll be surprised if that suspension lasts the whole season. I think they're going to miss maybe 5 to 6 games, and then they'll be back. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes on the suspension front. But yeah, that's just completely ridiculous. I don't know what LiAngelo was thinking and what the rest of those guys were thinking.
Yeah, it's not even about the fact that, the problem is going to get solved. I mean, it truly destroys the reputation of what kind of people you think they actually are. And that's the most sad part of the whole situation, too, is the fact that you're going to look at him differently now. The fact that, he's not some humble kid and hard-working, going to college and playing sports like he works hard, and you look at him as a thief, and somebody who doesn't care about himself or the other people around him, which is kind of sad.
No, definitely, completely agree with you on that. I mean, I don't know how UCLA is going to recover from this. I think it's going to take a while for UCLA to recover from something like this. And to be honest with you, man, he really should be kicked out of that program, or at least lose his scholarship. I don't know where he would want to play. I don't know if he can, if anybody would want to take him after the scandal, but he needs to get some type of severe punishment for that. But all 3 of these guys do completely. It's just totally ridiculous. It's just, I mean, this happened on Wednesday of last week, and they got back on think they got back like I said, they actually got back yesterday. I'm sorry, and then they had the press conference today. So they were there for a while, and they didn't seem to have to really deal with too much stuff over in China. So at least give them some type of a punishment. Because I know some people are saying, oh well, allegedly they've done it. Well, they've come out and said that they did it. So there is no allegedly that they did, or they've done this. Apparently, they went out and they did it, and they deserve some type of punishment. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like I said, I'm a big believer in karma, and I think eventually, life is going to come back at him and provide him with blood.
Oh no, definitely, completely. All right, next is the NBA picks. So we got the Spurs versus the Timberwolves tonight at 8 o'clock. Who do you have for that?
I'm going to go with the T-Wolves with the Kawhi Leonard still out. I'm going to take the Timberwolves.
All right, Kings versus the Hawks.
Ooh, that's a tough one. You have two of the worst teams in the league. I'll go with the Kings.
All right, Wizards versus the Miami Heat.
I'm going to go with the Heat. I'm not big on Washington right now.
Yeah, neither am I. Jazz versus the Knicks. They're in the Garden.
I'll go with the Knicks.
The Cavs versus the Hornets.
Like I said, I think the Cavs can turn around. The Cavs don't play.
Pacers versus the Grizzlies.
I'll go with the Grizzlies.
The Pistons, who are 10-3, versus the Milwaukee Bucks, who have been a disappointment this season as well, 7-6.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies. I think they're on a good stretch here in the next couple games.
All right, and then the Pistons versus the Bucks. Pistons, the Raptors versus the Pelicans.
We want the Raptors. They played the Rockets all the time, and I think they will build off of that.
The Bulls versus the Thunder.
Thunder too. Thunder played a couple of games now. I think they keep going against Thunder.
Magic versus the Trailblazers.
We have the Trailblazers. I think they can outscore Magic.
The Sixers and the Lakers.
I'm going to go with the Sixers. I'm a big fan. I'm really looking forward to that matchup. Off the ball.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that as well. For me, I'm going with the San Antonio Spurs. I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm going to go with the home team, even without Kawhi and Tony Parker coming. I know Tony Parker is expected to be back in maybe they're saying another 3 to 4 weeks. Same thing with Kawhi Leonard, 3 to 4 as well. So we'll see whether that happens or not. As for the Kings and the Hawks, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with you there and go with the Kings. I like De'Aaron Fox a lot. I think he's got a lot of promise. I think that if they can get some guys around him, almost like with a Porzingis situation, they're going to be really good. He can, he all he has to do is kind of develop a bit of a jump shot. He doesn't have that yet. He didn't have it in college. I know last year he really struggled with his jump shot. So if he can develop a jump shot, he already has the speed to beat anybody going down the lane on a fast break, which is what the league has become now. The league is a fast break type of league. You got to be able to run up and down the court now, and he's able to do that with the best of them. As for the Wizards and the Heat, I'm not sold on the Wizards. I don't really care for John Wall right now. I think Bradley Beal hasn't been that great either. Gortat is whatever. Everybody talks about how great Gortat is as a center. He can play some he can give you good defense, but he can give you some offense here and there. I don't really believe in him as much as other people do. So I'm gonna go with Miami here. As for the Knicks, I think they're gonna have a bounce back game from that Cavaliers game. I think Porzingis is gonna have a chip on his shoulder. He's gonna show up. He'll score them probably 27 points tonight, and they'll win that game. Same thing here with you on the Cavs. The Cavs are definitely gonna, I think, take this game. This is their beginning. This is their start of the season to me. Their season starts after that Knicks win. So they're gonna win this game. I think they'll win this game by about 20 points. They'll keep the Hornets to 80 points because they need to start showing that they can play some defense. Pacers versus the Grizzlies. I mean, I'm gonna go with the Memphis Grizzlies here. I like Powell. I like Mark Gasol, and I like Mike Conley. I think that they're both excellent players. I think that at some point Mark Gasol is going to go. I don't know about you. I don't know if you feel that somebody's going to be interested in trading for Marc Gasol, but I believe that somebody can use Marc Gasol, and I think that one of the teams that could actually use Marc Gasol is the Cavs. I think that the Cavs, if they could find a way to get Marc Gasol, they should. As for the Pistons and the Bucks, I'm going to go with the Bucks. I think that the Bucks need to win here. They need to start showing that they can play well. Antetokounmpo is the scoring, I believe he's the scoring leader right now, right? He's averaging about 34 to 35 points a game. And I expect them to have another big game. I expect him and Bledsoe to start working that out. We actually didn't talk about that. That's a big pickup for the Bucks. If he can be what people expect him to be, this Buck team could be pretty good. with Eric Bledsoe. I don't know if you feel the same way. You haven't been able to what? You can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say about the Bucks?
I just think he's gonna have something to prove.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, they are missing Jabari Parker. He's just been.
Jabari Parker too as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they really do need Jabari.
Besides, it's almost like the same thing. Once you get past Giannis, there really isn't much there.
No, definitely. You're right about that. That's why it's important that Bledsoe has a big game and starts to perform well here in Milwaukee, and that they get Jabari Parker back healthy. Now, the Raptors and the Pelicans. I'm going to go with the Pelicans here. To me, man, Rondo and these guys need to find a way to work this out. I don't think Rondo's been playing as well as he should have. And maybe that's just he's trying to get adjusted to what's going on here. You know, you have Cousins who's scoring 28 a night. I think Anthony Davis is scoring almost the exact amount. So if Rondo can finally work that out and make that work, make that offense work with those two big guys, they're going to be a force out there in the West completely.
Yeah, it's just a matter of giving the guys the ball and what they can do. Because once you get, like I said, the Rookie and AD are going to do the heavy lifting. It's just a matter of fact that everybody else is getting hard.
Yeah, they need a perimeter shooter. Whoever that is, they definitely need some type of three-point threat because Rondo obviously doesn't give them that from the point guard position.
Yeah.
Now for the Bulls and the Thunder, I'm going to go with the Thunder as well. They've been playing some good basketball. They've won about 2 in a row, I believe. They're the favorites here. They are actually they're favored to win by 12.5 points in this game. So I'm going to go with the Thunder. As for the Magic and the Trailblazers, I mean this is a game where two teams are pretty much playing the same amount of basketball. One is 8-6, 7-6 is the Trailblazers. This is the thing that I have a problem with the Magic is we've been waiting for that young talent to arrive. You know, everybody talked about Peyton, everybody talked about Aaron Gordon. He, you know, is going to be a star in this league as long as he can find a jump shot as well. And that seems to be the problem with a lot of young NBA players today. They don't have a jump shot coming out of college. And hopefully the Magic can do something. It's been a long time since the Magic have been really good. I mean, the last time the Magic were good was in 2008 with Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard,
and Jameer Nelson.
And all those shooters like Turkoglu and all them boys.
Yep. And then for the 76ers and the Lakers, I'm going with the 76ers here. I think Ben Simmons is going to have a great game. He's easily, by far, so far, Rookie of the Year. I mean, he's just dominating the NBA right now as a rookie. Him and Embiid are going to be something special as long as Embiid can stay healthy.
Yeah, and I actually just saw this. The Sixers have signed an extension with Robert Covington as well, so I like Covington, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes moving forward.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. That's going to be special. You know what's funny? I didn't notice Ben Simmons is playing the point guard position for the Sixers now that Markelle Fultz is injured.
Yeah. And I think it's actually been for the better, to be honest with you. He basically controls the offense, controls the game, and I think that's something he's done a very good job so far.
But I think this is why the Markelle Fultz kind of thing was a little bit of a weird move for me. I don't know why they went with Markelle. To me, if I were the Sixers, almost like what you were saying last podcast about the Lakers, I would have taken Tatum. I would have taken Jason Tatum as the first number 1 pick, and I would have let Ben Simmons play the point. He seems comfortable at the point guard position. He likes to move. He likes to facilitate the offense. You can see it. You can see how it's benefited Embiid and everybody around them. Now they are 7-6, so they don't have the greatest record in the world, but at least it's better than what we've seen in years past when it comes to the 76ers. So for me, let Ben Simmons run your offense. When Markelle Fultz comes back, I don't know where you want to put him. Maybe you put Ben Simmons back in the small forward, power forward position, however you want to put him there, but I just like him at the point guard position. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a situation they're going to have to work out once Markelle Fultz comes back from a shoulder injury. I think they were fine with Markelle at the point, but like I said, we'll have to wait and see how they work it out. I'm sure they're going to try both ways and see what they can do work into the rotation with Markelle Fultz, but I don't know. That's to be determined.
And let me ask you one thing here before we finish this off with the NBA stuff. What would you do with Jahlil Okafor? He has not really played at all this season. He is healthy. They don't really want to use him. They are looking to trade him. What would you do with Okafor?
You got to trade him because
But who would you trade him to?
So, I don't know. I don't know. Because I don't know what teams are looking for right now. Because don't forget, it's still early in the season. It's not somebody like, a Bledsoe situation where, you knew there were certain teams who needed a point guard, and they knew he was just trying to get rid of them. The 76ers haven't really said too much about Okafor, so it's kind of tough to get a read on, how. I mean, they don't need him. He doesn't fit their system, but you haven't really heard too many teams talk about him, and the fact that he's not really playing, the teams can't really get a good look on, how he can play or what he can do this year. So it's kind of tough to tell. That's why I think it's kind of a tough situation to get into the 76ers, but yeah, 100% you got to trade him at some point.
See, I have an idea, and I don't know if you like this idea. This is a little out there for most people probably. But if I don't know if they want to trade within the conference. I think they should, because you can't keep giving the West a bunch of players. If I'm the 76ers, I'm looking at trading Okafor to the Knicks. If I'm the Knicks, I'm interested in Jahlil Okafor. He's a scoring option, one that you can use other than obviously Porzingis. You can have him dominate the paint when they try to double up Porzingis. If Okafor can learn how to defend a little bit, because he does scuffle a little bit on defense, but if he can get some defense in his game, I think that's a good fit. I really do. I think you can kind of have what the Pelicans have, which is that kind of two-headed beast, those two big guys down in the paint that can rough people up, as long as Okafor is willing to do that. And on top of that, Okafor can score, man. He's a post scorer. He knows how to get his points in the post. He showed it in college. He did show it a little bit in his first year in the NBA. I believe he averaged about 19 to 20 points in his first season in the NBA. So
yeah, it was solid,
So he would be, to me, he would be a good fit. He's not gonna change the Knicks overnight, but that's a better improvement than having Enes Kanter starting on the floor or whoever else, or even Joakim Noah when he comes back. So
the only problem is the Joakim Noah contract, because who are they? You have to assume who are they going to give up to get somebody like Okafor? You would like to think that the Sixers aren't going to give up for nothing. That's why I think they're still holding on, is just that they're going to find some super that will offer them something. So I think that's honestly why he hasn't been traded yet.
Well, to be honest with you, I like Covington, but I like Covington at the small forward position. If I'm the Knicks, I'm trading Courtney Lee, so I'm going to give them a shooting guard, which is what they need. Give them the shooting guard and Courtney Lee, which you gave him a big contract anyway, so that's how you would trade the Okafor contract and the Lee contract, because the Knicks paid big money for Lee. Give them Lee, give them a first round pick, because that's what the Sixers are probably going to want, or at least a second round pick, one of the two. And if you can get Noah out of that deal, then you give up Noah. But just because I'm assuming they would want to save Jahlil on the floor, and even though they won't get the scoring from Noah that they would in Embiid, they can get it. They can get the defense at least from Noah that Embiid usually gives them. So that's how I see it. That's how I see that you being able to work out that deal. I don't know if the Sixers are willing to do that, but if they were, that's what I would do.
Well, if you can get Noah off the payroll, I'm all for it. But I don't think that's something the Sixers want, especially since as young as they are. I think they want young players, or they want shooters, which is why I do think if the Knicks are willing to give up somebody like Courtney Lee, I agree with you. I would definitely do that. But I don't know how much it makes value for Courtney Lee. I think Courtney Lee he's fine in New York. I'm not looking to trade him if I'm New York, but if that's something they're willing to do, I could see that happening as well. So yeah, I see what you're trying to say.
Well, the only reason why I believe that you could trade Courtney Lee is because I believe that if the Knicks really present themselves well in this off season, they could land themselves a Paul George, because Paul George wants to be a star. Now I know he has preference LA, but if LeBron James opts out and he decides to go in LA, I don't see how you can afford a Paul George. I see Paul George better as a New York guy. He plays defense, he can shoot. That would be another guy to go with Porzingis, and on top of that, Paul George is not selfish like Melo was. Paul George is willing to give up being a superstar and just be a star on a team. And I think that with Paul George, you can put him at the guard or you can put him at the small forward position. Obviously, he can play either one. I like that idea with Okafor because that's the start of something. That could be the start of something pretty big. Now, I don't know how Frank Nikita is going to be, if he's going to be that big-time point guard. If he can be a decent point guard, almost like a Mike Conley, just a little bit, not as great as Mike Conley, because Mike Conley is still a good, decent NBA point guard. But if he can be to the caliber of that, with the Paul George at the guard and a Porzingis at the small forward or power forward position with Jalil, or you can even have Porzingis at the power forward position and Jalil at the center position, that's a solid team. That's a team that can probably get you a 7 or 8 seed in the Eastern Conference.
I actually think they could get you higher, 7 or 8.
You think so? You think that they could overtake Washington and Toronto?
Well, the biggest reason, I think the point guard's going to be very good. Actually, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's going to be really good. And if you throw in something like PG as well, I think he could compete with Boston, honestly. I don't think they're better than Boston, but they'll be the second or third seed in there, most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's what I said. This Knicks team is so interesting because they have the piece there with Porzingis. That's the beginning. If you can get a guy like a Jalil, like I said, and then maybe a Paul George, which would obviously be your big signing, your big free agent, that's the beginning of something special in New York. That's what New York needed. That's what New York wanted. And New York has been stuck with 2 bad contracts. Well, not 2. Actually, I shouldn't say 2. They've been stuck with 2 bad players. Melo wasn't bad when he was here in New York, but Melo wasn't the star that the Knicks needed. And when they signed Amari Stoudemire, which I thought was a dumb move back in the day, they signed him after 2 major knee surgeries. So, I mean, that wasn't going to work itself out. He did play well his first 2 seasons on the Knicks, but after that, his knees just gave out. So that was a waste of a contract.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Like I said, once they build around Porzingis, I think they're going to be all right. You can get somebody like George at that point. You just find some good role players, and I think they can compete.
No, definitely on that. Alright, well, that's going to be the end of this podcast. We're going to be doing another one here on Friday, which will probably be out the same day on Friday. And we're going to go over the AL and NL MVP. I mean, the NL MVP, I think, is pretty much a lockdown. Me and you both agree that it's going to be Stanton, but we'll definitely talk about it. The AL MVP will be a little more interesting. We'll see whether they go with Altuve or Judge out there. I know that me and you both said that Judge should win the MVP, not because he's not the better player than Altuve, but just because he had more value and impact to his team. And then I believe Friday there is no awards. I think that's the end. I mean, so maybe we'll start to see some free agents here land. And I'm sorry there, guys, for that little cough there, but yeah, hopefully we'll start to see some free agents land here, man. I mean, it's been a quiet off-season for baseball, and I think, before we go, actually, this is one thing I do want to mention. Baseball needs to find a way to make themselves interesting in the off-season. I mean, the NFL has an interesting off-season. The NBA has one of the best off-seasons. I mean, anytime an NBA off-season comes around, there's just so much drama. You have guys dropping left and right like the first 4 to 5 days. I mean, it's just crazy. So baseball needs to find a way to kind of jumpstart their free agent period at some point, because, I mean, for it to be this dead is just crazy. Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of things that you'll be able to talk about within the next coming months. I mean, the Hall of Fame ballot is also going to be coming up around, I want to say, sometime in another 3 weeks. So we'll be able to talk about that. I have an interesting video idea here for you when we actually get to that point. And the other thing I actually want to do, and I wanted to know if you were actually interested in this, is a top 5 World Series kind of like games. Which ones are your top 5? Which ones are my top 5? And we'll discuss that in the next podcast, since the World Series is over and we had an incredible Game 2 and an incredible Game 5.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be interesting.
Definitely. But alright, guys, we're going to sign off here. BLN 437. You can follow me on Twitter at BLN.